Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My best friend blames me for her husband's cheating. After that, Karen wants to use the shoulder lane to escape traffic. I dared her. And after that, you are not allowed to work from home. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to use expired coupons. We'll see what the manager has to say about that. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My best friend blames me for her husband's cheating. I'm a 31-year-old woman, and I've been best friends with my friend, who is 34, since I was 15. She's been married to her husband for 5 years. I've never been his biggest fan. Something about him seemed off to me, but I never brought it up or told her my feelings on the matter, as I had no reason to suspect he wasn't above board. Sometimes you just don't like people. It doesn't make them a bad person, and I figured it was just that. Due to our connection through her, we do sometimes talk on social media. Not often, but he is on my friend list. 3 nights ago, he made a pass at me, sending me some rather flirty messages and commenting about a picture I'd put up a few hours earlier of myself at the beach with a friend. I was naturally disgusted with this and asked him what he thought he was doing and told him that I was his wife's best friend. Then I asked if he was drunk. He quickly tried to backtrack and cover himself, but it was very clear he had been making a pass from what he had written. He then begged me not to tell her, at which point I ignored him. I then screenshot all the messages, saving them, and the next day, first thing in the morning, I called up my friend and asked her to come see me, where I laid it all out for her. I had wanted to tell her in person, as it would be easier to soften the blow, rather than immediately sending all the screenshots to her with no easing into it. I expected her to be upset, but I was surprised when she got upset with me. She told me I must have led him on in some way to make him think that kind of message was okay, that he'd never do something like this without being tempted first. I told her I'd never do that to anyone, last of all my best friend, and pointed out how clearly disgusted I was by what he'd written. I then told her I was worried because if he'd do this to her best friend, what was he doing with women who didn't know her? She left angry with me and hasn't spoken to me since we met up that day. I've sent her a few messages since then, but haven't gotten a reply. I hope it's just misplaced anger and she needs time to come to terms with this. I don't know what else I was supposed to do. Surely sitting on this and not telling her would have been worse. Not the jerk. You did the right thing. She's just in denial at the moment. Yup, absolutely, you did the right thing. Give her space and be supportive. People tend to lash out in cases like this, but it's a defense mechanism. It's upsetting, but not about you in this moment. Not the jerk. Yeah, it's really hard for most people to accept that the love you feel coming from somebody is connected to such a lie. She probably won't believe it until he breaks up with her, if she's the kind who is desperate to be loved. Well, what would you have done in this situation? Would you have told your best friend or not? Please let us know. Absolutely. And if best friend can't appreciate the honesty, I'm not so sure I'd want to be friends with him anymore. Karen wants to use the shoulder lane to escape traffic. I dared her. This happened just a few hours ago. I was driving a semi on the highway when the traffic suddenly became bumper to bumper on a 2-lane due to an accident a couple miles ahead. Everybody was creeping and I was at the right lane. Suddenly, I saw a regular vehicle, not even an emergency vehicle, on the right side, the shoulder lane, passing me. There's not even an exit nearby. I was like, oh no. And as soon as I saw a couple vehicles behind me trying to do the same thing, I immediately blocked them by going slightly to the shoulder. So I'm occupying 2 lanes. I got a few honks, but I couldn't care less. If I'm suffering in traffic jams, everyone else should have to as well. Shoulder isn't for passing. As long as I didn't see any flashing lights behind me, I'm not opening that shoulder. We're crawling anyway. After a few hundred feet ahead, I see an idle police cruiser on the shoulder up ahead. Figured that nobody would dare using the shoulder anymore. I merged back to my lane. Turns out I was right. The shoulder became empty all of a sudden, but that's not the end. While I was chilling, still creeping, I heard a very annoying and repetitive honk on my left side. I looked and I saw this lady with huge sunglasses, a ponytail, bending down on her seat, looking at me, yelling something, looking outraged. I roll down the window and this is the following conversation. Karen: you know you're blocking 2 lanes, right? Me, confused. Huh? I was behind you on the right lane and you wouldn't move. I honked and you didn't care. Me: that's a shoulder. You're not supposed to drive on the shoulder. That's a lane. You are allowed to drive there. While she's still yelling incoherently, we are still slowly moving. Then I remembered there's an idle police cruiser on the shoulder that I saw a while back that we didn't pass yet. I'm sure everyone knows by now. Malicious compliance initiated. I reduced my speed even more, so Karen is faster than me by a little bit on the left lane. Then I dare her by giving her the signal that she can pass me to use the shoulder. She aggressively took it, cut in front of me, and immediately went to the shoulder. However, what Karen didn't know was that the cruiser is already around the corner. I was driving a semi, so my field of vision is much higher and wider than everyone else. Karen was driving a sedan. Her field of vision is much lower and limited. What I didn't take into account was how aggressive Karen was driving. She cut the corner so quick without looking and ended up hitting the cruiser. Sorry, officer. It was so abrupt that I can hear the crash pretty loudly. I can also tell that the driver in front of me was gasping in shock as well. I've never seen an officer get out of the cruiser so fast before. This dude practically jumped out of the cruiser in less than 1 second. Then, this is what I witnessed and heard when I'm creeping slowly with the traffic. Not wanting to miss anything, I roll down my passenger window. Officer, get out of the vehicle. Karen, still inside her car, full fluster mode. Officer, get out, now. Karen finally gets out, and literally word per word. But I wasn't at fault. You were stopped in a lane. Officer, this is a shoulder for emergencies, not for your convenience to escape traffic jams. Karen, but... Incoherent sob story as I drove away from the scene. I couldn't hear what was going on anymore, but I kept watching my front as well as the side mirror. Judging from her body movement, she was indeed panicking while pointing at my truck. Don't know why. Then, before the scene disappeared from my mirror, the last thing I saw was the officer pulling out his handcuffs and handcuffing her. Surprisingly, she complied without causing any more scenes. Then I continued to drive into the sunset. Edit. For those who asked for a video from the dash cam, I honestly would have wanted to relive this moment as well. However, my company is too cheap to invest in dash cams. They said that a tracker system is good enough. I've been using my own dash cam for the first few days until it doesn't stick to the windshield anymore due to non-permanent truck assignment. If there's a truck dash cam that doesn't require sticking to the windshield, I'm willing to get it. Edit 2. Some people did share with me that I shouldn't block the shoulder. While I did pay attention to flashing lights for emergency vehicles, back then it didn't occur to me that some emergency could come from vehicles without flashing lights. Thank you for teaching me a valuable lesson, and yes, I would prefer 99 Karens to pass me illegally than causing one innocent person to get hurt. You are not allowed to work from home. This was 2018-ish, before lockdown. I was working at a nuclear power plant in the mid-Atlantic. Once or twice a year, we would get a heavy snowstorm, but we were far enough south that the local government wouldn't plow or salt anything other than the main roads. The power plant has a policy during inclement weather that no matter how long it takes you to get to work, if you make it in, you get paid for the day. Otherwise, you have to take vacation. Note, I, like a majority of my coworkers, live in the closest large city, which is an hour away. The drive to the power plant is half interstate, half hilly, curvy country road. I wake up and see we have about 10 inches of snow overnight and text my supervisor to ask if I can work from home. I have my laptop with me, don't have any work going on that I would need to be inside the power plant, and I'd mostly be reviewing paperwork anyway. Supervisor tells me the policy for inclement weather and that he was at work already and the roads weren't that bad. I reiterate that I would just be sitting at my desk doing paperwork when I eventually get in. He is hearing none of this and tells me I'm not allowed to work from home. I need to drive the 50+ miles to work or take vacation. I didn't even bother to respond and decided to take the vacation day. I head to a local store about half a mile away and pick up some snow sleds. I'd like to note that the roads were bad. I was driving a 4x4 and had some trouble getting to and from the store. The wife and I do some sledding in the neighborhood, have some hot chocolate, and other classic snow day activities. Around 11, I get a text from my supervisor. OP, are you able to come into work? Hardly anyone showed up because of this snow. There's some document we need reviewed, and we really need you here in case we need someone to do something in the power plant. I tell him, sorry, but I'm taking vacation today, per the policy. He tells me he's emailing me the document to review, and he can sign it for me if I approve. I replied, I'll take a look at it if I can, but my supervisor told me I wasn't allowed to work from home. He never responded to that, and I never heard anything else about it. But I didn't have to work that day, which was nice. Bonus malicious compliance. I'm a salary employee, but have to record hours worked in a computer program. Our real HR policy says, If an employee works any part of the day, they will be paid for the whole day. I put 10 minutes of work time in for the time I was texting with him and didn't record any vacation hours. He approved my timesheet for 10 minutes of work and I saved a day of vacation. My boss has done the opposite. I let him know I was feeling sick and he texted me, "Hey, I locked my account. Can you unlock it for me from home? I'm in IT. Yeah, it's unlocked. Going back to sleep now. Cool. You technically worked today, so it doesn't count as a sick day. Get some rest." He's a great boss. Edit. Yes, he obviously did it on purpose, guys. Am I the jerk for packing my dad's lunch but not my brother-in-law's and refusing when demanded to? I'm 17, female. My parents have been remodeling the house. My dad tore a big chunk in the back, and he and my brother, who's 19, male, and my sister's husband, who's 27, male, have been cleaning and picking the rubbish that was left. It's important to say that I do not like my brother-in-law at all. He's quite a jerk. He's disrespectful and has no boundaries. I know how badly this speaks of my family, but my brother and father are nothing like that, and they too believe that he's awfully wrong. I try to interact as least as I can with him, and I feel uncomfortable in his presence because until a few years ago, he used to make fun of me for anything I did. He's also used to having my sister or my mom do things for him, like cooking, serving him his food, doing his laundry, childcare, anything. That being said, my father and brother-in-law usually leave at the same hour to go to work. My dad works in construction and brother-in-law at a company. I've been doing my dad's lunch for 2 years now since I got a liking to cooking. I cook dinner for all of us, and I only pack some for him. For example, during this instance, I made enchiladas, so I packed him a few, with a side of lettuce, sour cream, and green salsa in small containers, a bag of chips, and a few chunks of sliced fruit, apple and pear. I also pack him a water and Coke. When they came to the kitchen, with my mom, I told my dad that his lunch was already in his car, so he could eat something and leave without worrying. And my brother-in-law said, "What about me?" I just shrugged my shoulders and said that I left him a container in the island and he was more than welcome to pack his own stuff, and there were waters and Cokes in the fridge. He gave me a dirty look and asked why I didn't do it for him, and I said, "You're not my dad, so..." My mom got in the middle and told me to start packing my brother-in-law's lunch, and he smirked when she said that. But I just sat with my plate and said, no, that he could pack his own lunch or buy something at his job. My mom said that I was embarrassing her, but my dad put it all to a stop when he told my brother-in-law to stop fighting and pack his own stuff because I already cooked for all of us. He ended up saying he would eat something at work and left early. My mom went off on me, but my dad shut her down and said that my brother-in-law is already an adult. She said, "But she packs your lunch." And my dad said, "Yeah, but I don't demand it." When he left, my mom called me a jerk and said that she raised me better. Am I the jerk? ETA. I posted this and got distracted with homework. Thanks everyone for your kind comments about my dad. He truly is the best and I love him with all my heart. I'm really happy that you're saying awesome things about him. He hasn't read the post or comments, but my brother has. He's happy and thankful too. Not the jerk. Your brother-in-law is not your responsibility and he's a jerk. Nothing requires you to serve him. Your mom can pack his lunch if she wants it so badly. Not the jerk. And way to go, Dad, for having your back. Next time Mom says she raised you better, reply with, "No, Dad raised me better. He taught me self-respect." Am I the jerk for calling my fiance a jerk? I'm 28, female, and my fiance, 38, male, proposed to me last week. We've been dating for 2 years. He has a 15-year-old daughter from a previous marriage. Her mom passed 5 years ago, and I have a 6-year-old son. When my fiance and I started to date, I noticed that his daughter had the master bedroom. I found it weird because I've never seen a kid take over the master bedroom before, but he brushed it off, saying that the house was hers, so it was normal that she slept there, with no further explanation. I thought he meant as an inheritance from when he passed, which still was weird because he was alive. But either way, I didn't say anything because we were only beginning and I knew it wasn't my business. Now that we are engaged, I said that I wanted to move here to live together for a while before we decided the wedding date. He said that we could do it or we could get our own house now because we will have to do it regardless. I asked what was wrong with this one and he said nothing, but that it was his daughter's. To be honest, now I did get a little mad. I said it wasn't fair he called it his daughter's when we were about to get married and he was supposed to adopt my son. So now the house should be theirs and not only hers. I also said I wanted his daughter out of the master bedroom because it was ours. He got a little nervous and said that the house really belonged to his late wife, and when she passed, the house became his daughter's. He has enough money for maybe 60% of a house, but that we will have to pay off the rest together. I was shocked and said that he could ask his daughter for the house because she's only 15 and he is her dad, but he said no, that it was his daughter's. I got angry and called him a jerk because he should have told me the truth before, and he said that it's not like we will be homeless or anything. We still have 3 years and maybe 4 after that because his daughter will leave for college. He said he has always known he has to move out and that's why he saved. I asked what else belonged to his daughter that I didn't know, and of course he said that his car, a 2020 Kia, the car that I always use, will be hers when she leaves for college. I called him a jerk again and left with my son to my parents' house. When I told my family, my brother laughed because I talked and acted like a gold digger and called me a jerk. I felt betrayed and lied to. Am I really the jerk? I think I'm justified. ETA. He saw the post and asked for his ring back. I guess this isn't a problem anymore. ETA. No need to keep commenting. He'll come tomorrow to get his ring and his car. Things are over. You're the jerk. He told you the house belonged to his daughter. That you chose not to ask what he meant and assumed he really owned it is your fault. You deceived yourself. It's her inheritance from her mother, and you want a share of it? The girl has already lost her mother, but that's not enough. Now you're demanding a share of her inheritance go to people the mother never even met. How can you think that's reasonable? Exactly. Everyone saying that he is the jerk for not telling her obviously didn't read the part where he did. She just assumed he meant something else. To be honest, I don't get the people saying he didn't tell her when he told her all along the house belongs to my daughter. Like, what did she think that meant? That dad bought the house and just gave it to her? Only the incredibly rich people do that. Anyone with common sense knows the house belongs to my daughter means it was my wife's. I can only stay in it till she comes of age and can decide. Honestly, I don't think most folks would know what to make of that statement and should ask for a clear explanation. Yes, OP's the jerk for assuming he owned the house, but moreover, she's the jerk for saying yes to a man before even knowing about his financial situation. And yes, he is also a jerk for not telling his potential wife exactly what's going on. You're the jerk. It sounds like his wife did the right thing to ensure that her daughter always has a home, considering you're now trying to push her out of it. Edit. My parents are split, and I'm the youngest. Both parents agreed that the house goes to me, and since the divorce, the house has been put under my name, not my dad's. Why? Because it ensured that I will have a home to live in if anything happens to them. And my father always said that if he ever dates or remarries, his future partner will not be pushing me out because I was here first. This is my home that I grew up in. Obviously, it will be mine and no one else's. Sounds like your fiance's wife did the same thing, but since she's gone, she won't be able to make sure her kid will be okay. So she did the one thing that she could to make sure that her daughter will be okay, and she did a great job. Am I the jerk for telling everyone the truth why my brother didn't come to our family reunion? A little backstory for context. My brother's girlfriend and my wife got into an argument 4 years ago. My brother, Jack's girlfriend, Danielle, tends to hold grudges and cut people out of her life when she isn't happy with their actions. The fight my wife and Danielle got into was over a mutual friend, my brother's best friend, Henry. Daniela didn't like Henry and told my brother it was either her or Henry. My brother broke up with her, but eventually cut ties with his best friend and got back together with Danielle. Danielle told my wife to stop inviting Henry to cookouts, parties, and events. My wife said no. Henry is a family friend and is more than welcome to come to anything we host. Danielle said that she needed to rethink their friendship, feeling my wife didn't side with her. My wife basically told her to grow up and buzz off. My wife and Danielle haven't seen or spoken to each other since the argument. My wife did apologize numerous times, saying she was out of line. Danielle won't accept her apology, and by doing so, had my brother pick a side. It's been a real nightmare where my brother has tried numerous times to reconcile, try to meet his niece, who is 2, and come to gatherings. Danielle gives him an ultimatum every time, so he chooses to stay away to avoid conflict with his girlfriend. For the past 4 years, every time we've had a family get-together, we've made excuses for Danielle and Jack, saying they're busy or had prior obligations. My parents said Danielle's biggest concern is family members will think of her differently if they find out that she's the one preventing my brother from attending family gatherings. She tends to put on an act for family that she's sweet and innocent, Behind the curtain, she controls my brother and has a very bad temper. We had a family reunion over the weekend, and once again, everyone asked where Danielle and Jack were. I finally told everyone the truth, that Danielle was still upset with my wife and she's been refusing to make amends, and my brother isn't allowed to go anywhere without her. My parents said they've tried to talk to my brother alone, but Danielle won't let that happen. They asked how he liked being an uncle. I told them the truth, that he's never met his niece. He's made a couple of attempts, but Danielle wouldn't let him, so he hasn't been able to. The look on their faces were shocked, mortified, and confused. Some asked for me to go into detail, so I did, and others kind of just smiled and walked away. Now my parents are telling me I'm the jerk because family is going to look at Danielle differently, and I've made it awkward for any other family gatherings in the future for my brother and Danielle. Edit. For everyone asking what Henry did to Danielle, Henry told Jack that Danielle was trying to isolate him. She didn't like the fact that Henry told Jack to break up with her after 6 months of dating. Danielle didn't like how close Henry and Jack were. They would play golf together and do things she didn't like, so she felt excluded. She gave my brother an ultimatum, saying Henry was threatening their relationship. Jack told Henry, so Henry spoke up and called her a jerk. Henry would try to point out other girls when they went to the bar to sway Jack's mind. As a girlfriend, she felt he was trying to break them up, which he was. Second edit. Thank you everyone for the great comments and opening my eyes to the type of relationship my brother is in. My wife has mentioned it in the past, and I didn't want to hear it since that's my baby brother. I've decided to sit with my parents and talk to them about everything. From there, I'm hoping to have a meeting with just my parents and my brother. I'm going to invite him over weekly and not give up on him. Hopefully my persistence will pay off and he will come hang out by himself. Not the jerk. I feel bad. It seems your brother's stuck in a bad relationship. Who cares about Danielle's feelings? Your parents should be trying to help your brother out of this cycle. OP. My parents are the most passive people ever. They said they tried to bring it up one time to my brother, and Danielle told them to back off or she will cut contact with them. My parents are so scared of losing him, they will do anything to avoid confrontation. Am I the jerk for telling my son that I would not stop inviting his ex to family functions? My son, 44 male, divorced his wife, 43 female, after having an affair with a younger woman. I think she was around 23. He and his ex have 2 kids who are 12 and 6, and his ex almost has full custody of them. He gets them 1 weekend per month. He just got engaged to the woman he had an affair with and told me I'm not allowed to invite his ex to family functions anymore because his fiancée is uncomfortable being around her. I told him no, and now he's angry with me. My reasoning is, she has custody of their kids the vast majority of the time, and I want to be able to see my grandkids frequently, and not only once a month. She has basically been my daughter for 20 years, and it's not like their divorce is going to change the way I feel about her. And she is actually closer to most of the family than he is, since she was always the one who kept us up to date about the kids, scheduled family outings with us, and even spent more time with us than he did. Also, her family lives in another country, and we've been her family for decades. I'm not going to take that away from her because my son decided to leave her. However, I recognize that I'm still really angry and hurt about my son's actions towards his ex-wife and kids, so maybe I'm acting out of anger. Am I the jerk for refusing to exclude his ex from our family functions? Edit. I was not expecting this many comments. I only want to add that my former daughter-in-law is not controlling or some sort of jerk who drove my son to cheat. She's a lovely human being who is also a very good wife to my son. He even admitted that she was completely not at fault, but that he unexpectedly fell in love when he met his new fiancée. Nobody in this situation, including my son, thinks my former daughter-in-law did anything to cause my son to cheat. Not the jerk. His fiancée should be uncomfortable. She deserves it. Choosing the fiancé cost him his marriage, custody of his kids, and maybe soon the relationship with his parents and the rest of the family. Wonder if he'll ever realize it's all his fault or not. Am I the jerk for not telling my boyfriend I'd been a surrogate before we were together? I, 28 female, have been dating my boyfriend, 29 male, for a little over 2.5 years. When we began to get serious, I told him I didn't want to have kids and wasn't interested in that, as it wouldn't be fair to string him along when things began to get serious. He wanted kids, but we talked it over and he decided he could live without having kids. Things were fine until we were visiting my family a few days ago for my dad's birthday. He saw some old pictures of me when I was 20 and clearly heavily pregnant. He was upset and asked me what this was and thought I'd had a kid and given them up. I explained to him that my older sister and her husband had been struggling with fertility, so I offered to carry their child for them, and my 7-year-old niece was the result of this. I in no way feel maternal towards her. She is their biological kid, and I've never felt I was anything but the handy oven for that bun. I never brought it up before, as I didn't think it mattered, and it was so long ago that it wasn't really anyone else's business. He, however, feels differently, and when we left, he told me I should have told him, and said how it wasn't fair I'd been willing to give my sister a kid, but wouldn't even consider having one with him. I got upset, as there is a big difference between carrying a baby and raising a kid, and I told him as much. I told him I was sorry for not telling him, but I honestly hadn't felt it was his business, as it had been years before we got together. I then reminded him how he had been the one to say that he could live without having kids, as I had warned him long ago. He's still upset with me. I honestly didn't think I did anything wrong here. Am I the jerk? Edit. As people keep asking, I'm including this information in the post. Yes, it's preferred that you be over 21 and have had at least one kid to be a surrogate. However, in our country, doctors will judge on a case-by-case situation and will sometimes allow it so long as the surrogate is over 18, even if they've never had a kid before. We were one of those cases, though they tried to discourage it. My sister didn't want to use a stranger, however, as she was scared. In our country, the person who carries the kid has all the rights, and if they decided to keep the kid, my sister and her husband couldn't do anything about it. I was someone she trusted. Not the jerk. Also, your boyfriend clearly wants to have a kid. This is not going to go away. It's unlikely your marriage is going to last long term, as his ability to father kids is going to last for quite some time, and he's likely considering he can change your mind. My advice for you is to find someone who is not interested in having kids from the outset. Not the jerk. However, I think he's lying to himself about not wanting to have kids based on his reaction. You did something very loving for your sister and have no maternal feelings for their kid. I don't see why he was obligated to know that. Am I the jerk for telling my husband he can't leave me home with our 2 babies to go to his friend's wedding in Europe this summer? One of my husband's best friends is getting married in Europe this summer to someone we have not met. The engagement has been only a few months, and we were given less than 3 months' notice of the wedding. Because it's peak travel season, post-lockdown travel craze, high gas prices, short notice, etc., everything is so expensive, and doing the trip as cheap as possible for a week for the both of us would cost upwards of $7,000. We cannot afford this. My husband thinks he has to go because it's one of his best friends, and he was in our wedding 4 years ago. He thinks he's going to go alone with another friend while I stay home with our 2 kids, who are 3 and 1. Am I the jerk for saying no way? Here are some more nuanced details. About 3 years ago, he quit his job for a career change where he needed to go back to school for 1 year. Cost $100,000, and now requires 2+ years of training where he makes roughly $500 a month, aka nothing. He is 2/3 of the way done with training. While I do agree it's our money, I am the breadwinner. My job provides basically all of the income being brought home, and I work a job I have no passion for because it's stable, supports our family, provides benefits, etc., while he works on his training and can be qualified to get a stable job sometime next year. We sold the house I bought before we were married and moved in with family. Haven't gone on any trips, watch every dollar we spend, etc., to afford for him to pay for school and be able to do his training. I'm the default parent 99% of the time and keep our household running, our kids fed, and bring them and pick them up from school, etc. I am a solo parent the majority of mornings and many evenings and weekends while he is completing his training. Our wedding was in the US, and the friend maybe spent a total of $500 attending. Flight, Airbnb, suit. He didn't get us a gift. The wedding was very small. My husband is one of 3 friends invited. The rest of the people there will be family. My husband says the reason I'm saying he can't go is because I'm jealous. Oh yeah, I am jealous. I haven't traveled in years, which I love doing. I sacrifice so much for him to follow his dream, and he wants to pull a significant amount of money out of our dwindling savings to leave me alone with both kids for a week while he has fun with friends through Europe? This is messed up, right? Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. So you're the primary breadwinner and the primary caregiver? That's a lot of money just to go to a wedding. You're right to be upset, OP. Marriage is a two-way street. It's great that you're supporting him while he's training, but this is not the time for him to take an expensive trip, and him and his friend should understand that. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know. If Reddit boy tried to do me over like this, he'd need a new head. My husband is a member. When I got to work on Sunday, my manager told me that inventory was shut off because housekeeping needed to catch up from the weekend. We are crazy short-staffed. I was working alone, but Sundays are usually slow, so it was okay. All shift I had people walking in or calling trying to book a room, and I had to tell them all that we had no rooms available. One lady called a few times and was not having it. First phone call. Me. Thank you for calling our hotel. This is OP. How can I help you? Lady. Hey, do you have availability for tonight? Me. Unfortunately, we do not have any more rooms to sell tonight. Unbelievable. She hangs up. Second phone call, 45 minutes later. Me. Intro. Lady. Hi, my husband is a member. Can I make a reservation for tonight? Me. I'm really sorry, but due to staffing issues, we had to close our inventory for the night, so I have no rooms available. What do you mean? My husband is a member, and you can't make me a reservation? Me. No, I can't. She hangs up. Third call, 20 minutes later. Me. Intro. Lady. Hi, are you the manager? Me. I'm not, but I'm the only one here tonight, so what can I do for you? Lady. Well, when I talked to you earlier, you said you had no rooms available due to no housekeepers, but I'm in front of your building right now, and I only see 7 cars. How are you filled up for the night? My husband is a member. Me. So, housekeeping worked all day today to clean enough rooms for the reservations we already had for today. So, unfortunately, I have no other clean rooms. Lady. This is ridiculous. You should have extra rooms available for your members. What is your manager's name? Here's the manager's name. She'll be here at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Lady. Oh no, I'm calling corporate. Hangs up. I left out a lot of her ranting, but man, this lady was wild. I couldn't even make her a reservation if I wanted to. The computer literally wouldn't let me. And why do people think being a member means anything? All it takes to be a member is giving us your email and zip code. I'm just glad she called from her car and didn't come to talk to me at the front desk. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.